गोपीजना भालाभा गिरिभर धारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना जमुना तीर वनचारी जमुना तीर वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Oh glories to the assembled devotees. Oh glories to the assembled devotees. Oh glories to the assembled devotees. Oh glories to Shishi Guru and Shiguranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11. Is General History. In Chapter 6, the Yadu dynasty retires to Prabhas. Text number 42. Sri Uddhava Uvacha Deva Devesha Yogesha Punya Shravana Kirtana Samhrityaitat Kulam Nunam Lokam Santyashate Bhavam Viprashapan samarthopi Pratyaham najat ishvara Deva devesha yogesha Punyashravana kirtana Samhrityaitat kulam nunam Lokan satyakshate bhavam Viprashampa samarthopi Pratyaham najat ishvaraha Deva devesha yogesha Punyasravana kirtana Samhrityaitat kulam nunam Lokan shantyakshate bhavam Viprashapan samarthopi Pratyaham najat ishvara. Please chant. Sri Uddhava Uvacha Deva Devesha Yogesha Punya Shavana Kirtana Samhityaitat Kulam Nunam Lokan Satyachate Bhavam Viprashapan Samarthopi Pratyaham Najat Ishwaraha. Sri Uddhava Uvacha Deva Devesha Yogesha Punya Shabana Kirtana Samhrityaitat Kulam Nunam Lokan Shansyaktase Bhavam Viprashapan Samarthopi Pratyaham Nat Ajshwaraha. Sri Uddhava Uvacha Deva Devesha Yogesha Punya Shavana Kirtana Samhityaitat Kulam Nunam Lokan Santyakshate Bhavam Viprashapan Samarthopi Pratyaham Najat Ishwara. Sri Uddhava Uvacha Sri Uddhava said, Deva Deva, O of the greatest among the demigods, Isha, O ultimate God, Yoga Isha, O master of all mystic powers, Punya, which are pious, Shavana Kirtana, O you hearing and chanting the glories of whom, Samhritya, withdrawing, Etat, this, Kulam, dynasty, Nunam, is it not so? Lokam, this world, Santyakshate, are about to give up once and for all. Bhavam, you, Viprashapam, the curse of the Brahmanas, Samarthaha, capable, Api, although, Pratyahamna, you did not counteract, yet because Ishwaraha, the Supreme Lord, translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Uddhava said, O my Lord, O Supreme God among all the demigods, real piety is invoked simply by hearing and chanting your transcendental glories. My Lord, it appears that you will now withdraw your dynasty, and thus you yourself will finally give up your pastimes within this universe. You are the supreme controller and the master of all mystic power. But although you are fully capable of counteracting the Brahmana's course against your dynasty, you are not doing so, and your disappearance is imminent. Purport. As previously mentioned, Krishna's own dynasty can never be destroyed. Therefore, the word Samhritya means that Krishna was taking the Yadavas with him as he left this material world. However, in the eyes of ordinary, unintelligent persons, the withdrawal of the Yadu dynasty appeared to be its destruction. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has very nicely explained the statements of Uddhava as follows. Krishna is addressed as Deva Deva, or the Supreme God among the gods, because he expertly solved all of the problems of the demigods by his incarnation within the universe. The Lord rid the world of demons and firmly established both his devotees and religious principles. Lord Krishna is addressed here as Yogesha because he is not only performed work on behalf of the demigods, but also reveal his beautiful transcendental form, full of transcendental qualities and ecstasies for the pleasure of his pure devotees. Krishna is called Punya Shravana Kirtana because when by his internal mystic potency, he exhibits his human-like activities. The Lord stimulates the writing of innumerable Vedic scriptures about his pastimes. Thus, persons who will be born in the future, like ourselves, will be able to hear and chant about the Lord's activities and also go back home, back to Godhead. Having ensured the transcendental bliss and liberation of all his devotees, even those who will be born in the future, Krishna decided the time had come for him to leave this material universe. Uddhava could understand the Lord's desire and said to Krishna, quote, "You have instructed the Yadavas to counteract the Brahmana's course by taking bath as Prabhasha Chetra. But how could mere bathing in a holy place be of greater value than seeing you, the personality of Godhead, face to face? Since the Yadavas are always seeing your transcendental form, and since you are the Supreme Lord, what is the use of taking bath in a so-called holy place? Therefore, you obviously have some other purpose. If you actually wanted to counteract the curse, you can simply say, quote, 'Let this curse not act.' And the curse will immediately be neutralized. Therefore, you must be preparing to leave this universe. And that is why you have not counteracted the curse." End of quote. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurube Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pesaya Bhutale Srimate Romapada Swami Iti Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirveshesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. This is a very wonderful verse that resolves in one sense, yesterday during the class that Krishna Archana Prabhu gave, we discussed at the end, I brought up many questions that comes to your mind by how these pastimes of Lord Krishna withdrawing the yadus, or the way the yadus actually exit this world and in Krishna's presence, and the whole thing brings so many questions. Or how is it possible? Why? Like that. And in this verse now, we're seeing how Sri Uddhava understands the whole, from his perspective, how he understands this whole pastime. And it's very clear that he understands the lower heart. And he does that through devotional intelligence. And it's also from the perspective of Uddhava entering into a mood, although with the Lord's presence, he enters into a mood of separation. So, we're going to be entering into this beautiful, intimate moment between Krishna and his very close associate, Sri Uddhava. So, devotional intelligence, Krishna says that he can be only understood as he is by bhakti, by devotion. Bhaktyamam abhijanati. So, the setting of the whole thing, this moment in which Uddhava comes to the Lord is a very emotional setting. And, it takes place in a very, very, possibly, arguably, one of the most delicate moments in the whole narration of the Bhagavatam. Because it's the moment that it will be narrating Krishna's conclusion, pastime. And for the last maybe year and a half, we've been hearing the 10th canto, the culmination of the height, how you say, the highest part of the Bhagavatam. And now we come into this moment in which the conclusion comes for the devotees. So, although Krishna is still present, then his departure already has begun. Basically, he is in the process of wrapping everything up. So, although from the perspective of Krishna, he creates quite a dramatic exit for his devotees, but from himself is a very quiet withdrawal as he's starting this. He is not announcing to the world. It's very silently and in one sense quiet. It's not that he's telling his devotees, okay, I'm leaving now. But is in a very how would you say, he's arranging all these, the course, and he's instructing the devotees, okay, you go to this place and like that, but there is no necessarily him saying, okay, it's all finished, we're all gonna exit, so they all understand. No. So Uddhava is the first one of the Yadavas to understand what's going to happen and to understand what is happening. And so it's not because, again, Krishna announced it, but it's because Uddhava can read the Lord's heart. And so it's a wonderful thing. I think it's a very important lesson that we can learn from that. So let's try to read the verse through Uddhava's mood of devotion. So the very first thing that he says is this samhityaitat kulan nunam, that the whole verse, this whole first expressions of Uddhava is pivoted in one simple, small word. And that is the word nunam, which is quite significant. Nunan is translated in the translation is he appears. Is it not like it's like that? He appears. I could understand, like that. It's an inference. Is not necessarily telling what he knows, but how he knows. That's the implication of the use of the word nunam. So, in general, when we say something like this, it appears that it's like that, I think, as I see, I think it's like this. It implies that there's uncertainty. There's no certainty. It implies that, you're not fully sure and you're trying to understand by inference. So, in general, we start to speculate. In general, it leads to a speculation. When you don't have interest, you don't have an understanding, you're trying to dry dots, a line between dots to trying to understand a situation. That's in general what that means. But in this case, is not a speculation. In Bhakti, Nunan doesn't mean a speculation. It means devotional intelligence. It's buddhi, Bhakti buddhi. Krishna gave that, and that's basically, this is the intelligence, the Bhakti buddhi is the intelligence of someone who knows Krishna. And yesterday when we were talking, Hari Bhakti brought up the Jarma Karma Chame Divyam verse, to know Krishna Tattva in truth, to know the deviant aspect of Krishna's activities and appearance. So to know Krishna, so this is the intelligence, this Bhakti intelligence, this Nunam means from the perspective of someone who knows Krishna in Tattva, in truth, personally, who knows Krishna's divine, deviant nature, and who doesn't need Krishna to say something aloud. I'm living. I'm finished with this. My business is finished. I'm going back to my abode. He doesn't need to hear that. He can understand. So he is not guessing Uddhava. He's inferring from the perspective of prema, of love. And from the perspective of tattva, of understanding fully Krishna, and even he can understand that even in silence, even when there is not a direct instruction like that, or when there is not a direct statement, he can understand. So, when Uddhava in this verse, he come to this inference. Yesterday Krishna Archana was explaining that there's a pattern. And from the perspective of Uddhava, he can see the pattern from this perspective of Bhakti Buddhi. So the first thing that he sees is that he uses the word samhritya. He doesn't use the word vinash or nashta or vinashta, destruction. It's a specific word. He doesn't use nashta prayesh, almost destroy. He doesn't use that. He uses the word samhritya, which means, samhritya means to withdraw. This is very important. His understanding is not that the Yadu dynasty will be destroyed. And the whole event is not to be understood like that. Like yesterday, that was one of my questions. Why is this possible? Obviously we have faith that Krishna's activities, his leelas are divine and they're very important. There is this trying to understand from these apparent contradictions that are there. These are pure devotees. How is that they do this? And why arranging this something that looks, not very, what's the word that yesterday we used, Krishna Archana? The way the exit was not, Yeah, less dramatic, but it was very low, drunken people acting, is fratricidal and this was the associates of the Lord. So, but that's not the case, he doesn't see it like that. He sees that there is a purpose, that there is a divine arrangement. When he say withdraw, is basically that when something is complete, then you withdraw. It's a divine completion of a lila. So it gets withdraw. So then he says that this Brahmana course is not counteracted. Uddhava. He said that Krishna, the course, you refers to the course and you appeal, gave some suggestion of how we can deal with the course. So you know about the course, and yet you don't do something. You do nothing. So So this inaction of the Lord, he understands, is not accidental. It's not that the Lord is inferior or is powerless in the face of the Brahmana's course, or he have to accept the course of Gandhari, or he have to submit to a karma or something, some destiny and things like that. That's not the understanding. So there's not an accident here. It's a very, this is how Uddhava could understand everything. So you know about the course, but you don't do anything. And then, because he said next, this Vipra Sampa Samartho Pi Ishwaraha, you're fully capable. You can say it. No? You can say it. You can counteract that simply by saying, no. You have that power. You're Yogeshwar. You're the master of all mystic powers. So you're fully capable and you're the supreme controller. So by saying that, it's already explained that because he is fully capable and he didn't do it, it means that he have a purpose for that. He have a purpose. So there's only one conclusion that comes from that, from his expression, which is that that is not that Krishna is failing to stop the curse, but he's choosing not to do so. And therefore, this is his plan, this is his will. So for Uddhava, it's a matter, and this is the bhakti buddhi, is that you align with Krishna's will. The devotee always align with Krishna's will. So Uddhava is showing that. So this is, we can actually take this as a very crucial lesson and teaching. Jai Shri Kishore Kishori. Because this example of Uddhava teaches us how to think spiritually. Especially when we have to deal with circumstances that are confusing or are, difficult like that. How do we think spiritual? In general, when we're facing some situation that is challenging, either to ourselves or to circumstances and things like that, we ask, why is Krishna allowing this? The why question comes in general. Why? Why is this happening? We're trying to understand from the perspective of why. The why questions, it assumes that something has gone wrong. That you need to justify, you need to find a justification for the situation. Why, But Uddhava asks from a completely different perspective. He uses a what. So not why, but what. What is Krishna intending through this? What? What is it? What is Krishna's plan? What is Krishna's will? So the what questions assume that Krishna is in full control. And nothing is accidental. Everything is there because it's exactly what is required. So, there is no need for explanation, there's no need for justification. So this is a very important way that we think, and that makes a difference in everything, how we approach life, and our path of purification and devotional service. We come to have that full faith and understanding. And we learn that we need to understand, or trying to pray for that intelligence to understand Krishna's purpose. And Krishna said he will give that intelligence if you endeavor to serve with love, with devotion. I got a blank. What is the Chatusloki verse? Tesham Shatadayuktanam Vajatam Priti Purvakam Dadami Buddhi Yogantam Yenamang Upayantite. Dadami Buddhi Yogam. That's Buddhi he gave to us. Vajatam Priti Purvakam, when we engage with devotion, with love, with care. So the why question versus intention questions. We can break it down like this. If we ask, like yesterday, when I was trying to analyze, that was more from the perspective of why. Why is Krishna allowing that? Why is this happening? Like that. And sometimes we're trying to understand Krishna's, deviant activities with whys. So when we have to face circumstances and we ask, why is this happening? Is looking backwards. Is looking outside, looking events, like that. If we say, what is Krishna's revealing or what is Krishna's plan, then we're looking inward and we're looking upward like that. Why is this happening? Question is again centered on an event. What is Krishna's revealing? It centers on our relationship with Krishna, relationship with the spiritual master, relationship with devotees. It's centered on relationship. Why is this happening? It often leads to confusion, agitation, something that is unsettling. What is Krishna revealing? Cultivates trust, leads to trust. Trust, is what Srila Rupa Goswami tells us, that we have to have trust in the process. And why this is happening, we trying to solve it by finding a justification for this act, or for the circumstance, or for the situation. And when we ask, what is Krishna revealing? We seek to align with Krishna's will. So this is the important part of how we think, or how we can think spiritually. So, in one sense, as Uddhava is connecting with the Lord, he's not demanding answers from the Lord. He seeks to attune, to actually aligned with the Lord's will. And he's doing that with all the feelings of separation. So we're going to see, as the narration goes, Uddhava's feeling of separation. Vipralamba Baba. So he's already, although the Lord is present in front of him, he's already entered into that mood. Because he understands that the Lord is withdrawing his pastimes. So, we can reflect that Uddhava teaches us that the highest devotion is not found in certainty, but in trusting the Lord's intention, even in separation. So Nunan, as is present, is not a word of doubt. It's a word of the heart that knows Krishna so well, that it understands him even when he's living. And then we can understand that this is the mood, is a Vipralamba Bhava mood, and this is what we're receiving from Lord Chaitanya, that we come to, through the process of devotional service, to connect with Krishna in that mood, the mood of separation and the mood of longing to be again in Krishna's presence. And that type of mood heightens and heightens further and further that type of intelligence by which we can understand the Lord's heart. So, this is something that we can cultivate and pray to be able to follow the footsteps of these great personalities that are showing this, beautiful, loving connection with the Lord. And it's so wonderful that we're able to witness through this Punya Shravanam Kirtanam these connections that are there, that give us a sense of what we have to do and what we have to follow, what we have to cultivate, what we're praying for. So I find it very inspiring. Any comments or questions? Please share, some thoughts. Vaishnava Sevananda Prabhu.
Thank you for your class, Prabhuji. Yesterday I was listening to my Guru Maharaj's class, and he spoke about this. And he was speaking about the reason for these different pastimes being the way they are is just for the pleasure of the devotees, and his pleasure, the pleasure of the devotees, and for the people in general, just to be attracted to it. So I can send you the lecture and stuff, because he's talking about the same thing that we touched on yesterday. He's going in depth on it. So I just thought I'd share it.
Yeah, sometimes, we hear some of these pastimes, and it may cause, devotees to feel a little sad or confused, but again, we have to be able to see it from the perspective of these great devotees. I mean, we're so lucky to have these narrations, and just like the approach that Sri Uddhava is having in dealing with these circumstances and revealing to us how to properly see it. So that's the wonderful thing. That's why he said, you do this for not only us, but for the future devotees, so we get absorbed in the wonderful narration of your pastimes. Like that. I get it back to you.
I'll just share personally, when I think about the Lord, starting off being born in jail, having his siblings killed, all these different things, and like Prabhu mentioned, devotees leaving their body in ways that seem like calamity and stuff. Personally, I just think about where in the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, "No one knows me." He also says, I can only be known through devotional service, but he also says, no one knows me. But his devotee knows him. And he knows that for devotees, there's no calamity. Even if externally it looks like it, there's never calamity. Mm-hmm. Even if externally it looks like it. So, personally, I also think of fear personified, fears the Lord. So why would someone so loving and so much our friend be feared by fear itself? But on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, imagine his whole army he gave to the losing side, and it's just something to contemplate and think about. But personally, I'm pretty sure all his soldiers and his partners and buddies were very pleased to die for his pleasure, like just to please him. Like, okay, we'll go over there and be on the losing team and allow you to kill us. And a lot of times we hear about how different associates of the Lord sign up for these things. He says, well, who's going to play this role? Who's going to play that role? And then they'll sign up for these different pastimes. At least that's what I'm thinking.
Thank you, bro. Just bring the microphone to Jitendra, bro.
I was thinking the living entity is immediately overtaken by the three modes of material nature due to his rebellious nature, and so he finds himself in a forgetfulness of the Lord. But that one verse, the Chatur Slokas, the 4 slokas, to those who are constantly devoted to me, I give them intelligence by which they come to me. So then they say, man is the architect of his own destiny. So I remember one, I think it was Allen Ginsberg, he says, when people are too overcome by illusion, they just, in despair, they just throw up their hands and they give up, if they're pious. And then they, turn to the Lord. But otherwise, the rebellious souls are continually in the lower modes of nature.
Thank you, Prabhu. That's very nice. Subal, Krishnarchan, you have something to add?
So you were drawing attention to Uddhava being aligned with Krishna's purpose. And I just found it interesting that the purport drawing attention to his reasoning process, addressing Krishna that you could easily counteract the curse, but here you've sent these the dynasty to Prabhas, but what's the use of them actually taking bath when it's more auspicious to just be seen your transcendental form? So he's as you said, he's inferring from that it must be that Krishna's winding up his pastimes. So I'm just finding myself very appreciative of the, I guess, the reasoning that also is there to get insight in this alignment process.
Yeah, that I also was very inspired by that. And sometimes, you're in situations in the institution, sometimes, why this is, trying to understand how the deities are allowing something like this to happen. You mentioned some calamities, in some places, like, say, last year's the calamity that happens for the devotees in Bangladesh. Why is Krishna allowing this? His devotees, And so it gets to understand that Krishna has a very that everything is under his control, to have that faith, to have that approach, to understand and to be able to infer. Sometimes it really, for some of us that are not in the level of fully understanding Krishna in Tattva, it will be very difficult to do that inference, fully alignment with Krishna's purpose, to understand it, and to have that type of sort of intelligence to connect things like that. We can just take shelter of faith, but these pure devotees, they can actually understand Krishna's purpose by this type of inference, by this type of intelligence. It gets revealed to them. So it's quite wonderful. It's quite wonderful, and in one sense, it's something that, at least I'm thinking for myself, is to cultivate, to practice, to see things from the perspective, to again ask, what is the Lord trying to tell me? What is His purpose? What is He trying to reveal through this? And then trying to align with that. And it's a very wonderful thing to do as devotees. It's going deeper into maturing as devotees. So I think it's a very important lesson. Okay. Anything else? Hari Bhakti Prabhu? Okay. Thank you so much. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.